Greetings, my friends, and welcome to a brand new Nations Guide. Today we're going to be looking at Denmark. Now, we have already had a look at Sweden, the erstwhile neighbours, but today we're going to be looking at Denmark. We're going to be looking at starting areas. We're going to be looking at the composition of our armies. We're going to be looking at strategies for where you might expand to. There's quite a number of options here for expansion. What you start with in terms of military, the cities, towns you start with, the infrastructure, the sort of economy as well, where you can expand to, maybe where you want to pick your fights, maybe those you want to keep on your side, as it were. So there's quite a lot to do. We've got quite to do for this one. As you can see, straight from the off, you already have quite a significant portion of land. Now, of course, you've got Norway here, which stretches and arches all the way around here and sort of runs parallel to Sweden itself here. So as you can see, you are running very much parallel here. But as you can see here, the difference between yourself and Sweden immediately is how much the sort of the mountains, as it were, of Norway really do consume vast amounts of your land, to the point where you don't really have that sort of infrastructure. As you can see, for Sweden, they've got the silver mines here, then they've got this fur trader here, they've got a logging camp, then they've got further down here a sort of much more disparity of infrastructure and towns and sort of natural resources, which unfortunately you don't really have here. Generally, because of the land, the layout of the land, you do have an iron mine here, of course, and then further right down here, all the way on the border with Russia here, you have the Copenhagen mines here, and again you can build that up. But as you can see, how far you stretch out your resources is considerably greater than that of your nearest neighbour. And of course, then you do have the farmland here. You've got a port here, Bergen here as well, which is really important to look at. And of course, you've also got the logging camp you'll be able to put together here as well. And you've also got another logging camp there as well. You've got a fort as well, which again can be incredibly useful, especially if Sweden does tend in the future to look your way. But we'll have a look at that in greater detail. You've of course got the absolute powerhouse here, which is Copenhagen, which is an absolute, as you can see, a wonderful city to start with. And indeed, although it's small and compact, and dare we say bijou here, it is and does pack quite a punch here. Denmark itself, it really does. And you do have a port already, a trading port here, with including the port you've got here, local fishery here, but you can change this. You could, of course, alter it maybe into a shipyard as well. But you can see here, you do have a Funen here, which eventually will become a port of some sort. But because you've got a trading port here, you could actually turn Bergen here into a shipyard to be able to build, of course, keep your military fleet up and running. Of course, I also got Odense here, which is a school. Now, I'm going to apologise for any mispronunciations, my friends. I know there might be a number of Danish council members watching this thinking, good grief, Mally, you're absolutely butchering these names. I do apologise in advance. So Odense here is of course going to be absolutely critical here. The school is going to be critical to research and development. You've got a peasant farm, you've got another peasant farm here as well, of course the port, which we've already discussed, and of course you have Copenhagen itself, already a huge city. And also growth is quite considerable here in Copenhagen, as you can see here. But there's one thing we haven't looked at yet, because you only see immediately what you have here. But if we move westward, my friends, there in the Atlantic here, you will find Iceland, which is also under Danish control as well. Now, this is an intriguing outpost of the Danish Empire. You are incredibly close, probably the closest of any of the Western nations to the New World. And of course, this here in the Atlantic is a perfect base, a perfect forward operating base for any expeditions you may wish to undertake in the New World. And of course, you already have a base which will be operational quite quickly. Again, you've got a fishery here. You do have another farmland here, and of course you do have Reykjavik itself, Iceland, where you can, of course, expand into governor's residence. That would give you what, indeed? Provincial cavalry. But you could, of course, quite easily begin to move armies into Iceland preparing for that excursion into the New World, into America. Newfoundland, of course, is going to be the first place you're going to meet, you're going to come across here, on the tip there, as it were, of North America. So that's a wonder here to have this. So we mustn't forget we've got this. Also, if you can see, the trade lines lie right within your grasp. So again, if France, or the 13 colonies, or Great Britain indeed, were ever to turn against you, you could from here, from Iceland, easily raid the trade lines. Now, of course, when you're going up against France and Great Britain, you are looking at two nations that have sizable fleets. So you must also factor that into your planning, because if you're intending to go against them, then you've also got to factor in the considerable naval firepower they have, especially if you go for their trade lines here. And of course, they are bringing in considerable money from the New World, as of course they would anyway. So we're going to have a look at what we've got in Copenhagen. Let's have a look what we've got in Copenhagen here, because that's pretty important. Of course, you've got this land jump here straight to Sweden, with Malmö being very, very close. Let's have a look what we've got going on here. Now, of course, you start with an army encampment, cannon foundry, governor's council, conservatorium. So the basics, infrastructure again is really poor, only basic roads. Cobble roads are going to be essential, and indeed in Christiania here as well. Cobble roads are going to be incredibly important. Now you can either here choose to go down either the military route or the government council route. We'll have a closer look at those in a moment. But let's have a look what we can get here now. Of course, barracks is going to open up line infantry, and it's going to give you regiment of horse as well, which is those two are going to be absolutely the backbone of many of your armies until, of course, your research development takes a pace. And we also got, of course, cannon foundry, which is going to give you access to demi cannons and sakers. And if you go up to the ordnance factory, you're going to be able to get 12 pounders, but only with research and canister shot. Now, governor's chambers, 12% regional bonus to region tax income. That's a huge bonus. Increases the capacity for units as well. Research for military by 4 as well. That's going to be pretty essential. You need to get militia. Conservatorium, that's going to give you +1 to happiness to all classes. And +1 per turn to town wealth and region. Not too bad at all. And of course an opera house. Light and new technologies, not too bad. +2 to happiness, again, not really essential considering that it is the capital. But again, not too bad. You don't start off with any settlement fortifications, which is of course something we might look at in the future. You can get regiment of horse, militia and sakers and demi cannons, which are usually standard. Again, infrastructure, as I said, cobble roads are going to be essential. You do have a gentleman here as well, Ole Roma. So of course you can either do two things with the gentleman. You can either send him forth to see what's going on here in Sweden, or further afield westward into Hanover, or, as my preference would be, but again, that is not what you have to do, my friends, I would put him immediately into Odense here and get him into the research and development phase, because he's going to be absolutely crucial. Does he have any? He does good aim. Look at that. +2 on dueling. So of course, if he goes up against another gentleman, he's going to be excellent shot. But we want to keep him alive to be able to really push that research and development as quickly as possible. Now, of course, we've got an army here under Frederick Carlson. Not bad at all. Does he have anything? He does. -1 to morale. Not very good there at all. That's a little bit of a downer right there. But strong defender, so it's going to be good for you as a defender. Perhaps in the capital. You've got provincial cavalry, a demi-cannon, pikemen. Of course, I'm not a huge fan of pikemen, but there are many council members who do rate them quite highly. And a militia. And if we over here, let's see what we got here in the fort here. We've got Fort Fredriksson. Fredriksson. I've got again pikemen and militia. And again, that fort really is a boon. Right on the border there of the road, almost straddling the road between Sweden and Norway here, the main road crossing into them here. So that actually is quite a powerful fort to have. And of course Christiania. Now you can choose to go to either, you can get the standard provincial cavalry and militia here as well, but only one training slot here. And again, cobble roads are going to be essential. Military government's camp, what are we going to get here? They're going to get regiment of horse. That's the biggest bonus you're going to get from that. And of course, these are going to be able to recruit it once you've got the required technology, which is going to be carbines and canister shot. And if you went down government council, you would be able to get provincial cavalry and militia, but +9 to bonus. So it's how you want to really balance your campaign out. Do you want that additional income via your economy, or are you going to want to go down the military route where you're going to have those additional forces available to you, i.e. the regiment of horse, which is going to be pretty much the backbone of your armies. That's going to be what you decide to do in terms of maybe your nearest neighbours will dictate what you want to do in terms of how you want your infrastructure to be constructed. Now, as you can see, Christiania does have quite a significant, look at that, -2 here to growth. Firmly under control here. And I think that's because of the tax. But again, if you look at Denmark, it is absolutely, well, it's not booming. I was going to say booming, but it's not. It's just about got some growth. 0 growth. Probably taxes at 12, that's why it is 961 the income here. And I'd imagine that Reykjavik has a similar, yes indeed, sir, -3 here. But that can be rectified, which we will have a look at in a moment. Tax burden is quite high here for, that really is pulling down the growth, both in terms of economy and in terms of population. But again, we'll have a look at that in a moment. Now, you start off with 8,000, which is absolutely a good size of money there. And if we have a closer look, fifth tax of 1,556, not too bad at all. Trade income's only 650, and I believe that's with Hanover, indeed. So you've got immediately linked to one of your nearest neighbours here, and you've got trade coming in. They obviously got trade with Prussia as well. Looks like it's flowing eastward there as well. You've got 3821 coming in, 1233 for the army upkeep, -594 for the naval upkeep, which is pretty high considering. We've almost got 2,000 coming in, which again, not too bad at all. We're allies of Poland and of Russia. Now that is interesting indeed. Trade partners of Hanover, and of course war with the standard Barbary states and pirates. But that's interesting here. 2 of the major powers within the east are our allies. Policies, our tax levels, we could probably reduce the tax levels for both nobility and the middle classes. Now that would encourage growth, more money in the pockets, so that the populace has more money to spend. That would of course affect our overall income, but it would increase growth, which in the long run would see our economy starting to thrive. So my advice would be to lower the taxes down for both. You could always, it's always important to keep the middle classes happier than the nobility. The nobility can take the sort of hit in taxes much easier, much better than, as you can see, a -8% for some regions because of the effects of the tax. If we were to lower the tax, it would increase the income here quite considerably. Now, ministers, let's have a look. We've got the King Frederick, not the finest of kings, very popularity not too good, but look at the head there, my goodness me. +8 diplomatic relations, +1 prestige, +2 per turn to town wealth, not bad at all. Treasury, and excellent treasury minister here. Look at that, +1 to management. It's only 44 as well. German is 54. Honest and bon voyant. Then we have justice here, honest and pious. It's a very good cabinet, I must look at the army, my goodness me. -6 recruitment, +6 to land military technology research rate, -6 upkeep costs for all. That is exceptional. Only 31. Wow, what a minister. Faste Villander, honest, bon voyant, and agrarian, and navy. Yeah, not too bad for the navy. Possibly someone a little bit better. +1 to management, stallholder as well. Probably would be better in the treasury, but still. Now, of course, we've got a constitutional monarchy, so I don't believe we can move people, and we can't indeed. So, in other words, you have to have elections. Yes, in 9 years there will be an election. Let's have a look at the opposition here. Bon voyant. Wow, it's not bad at all, is he? This gentleman here. So he would be excellent for any particular position. Or our Shield, not the best, but maybe good for the, or perhaps not. Maybe he's balanced out there for the navy. Might be good for the navy here. Bertil Krook, agrarian, and fine last one, but that he's exceptional. My goodness me, a 28. Wow, that is a very good minister there. Albert Jacobsen. A Trade, of course, as we know, is only with Hanover, but again, there are the possibilities of expanding trade. We can have a look at diplomatic relations as well. Look at the major nations here. Now, as you can see, many are indifferent with us, but look at every single one is open. Now, Sweden is unfriendly with us, minus 57. That's an alliance with the enemy, so they must be alliance with the enemy nation, but they're not at war with anyone else. That is strange, but France and Britain do have quite a pact with them there, which we have to be careful of if we were to move against them or vice versa. Now, 13 colonies are friendly with us, so new world trading is possible. Prussia, again, which we're only on our doorstep here, Prussia down here, is friendly with us. So again, we could get some trade with them as well. Their trade partners are Poland. Of course, we can't get trade with Portugal or with Poland. We are friendly with, actually we're allied with them, and with Russia. We can't get trade with them, which is unfortunate. Ottomans, yes, we could get trade with Ottoman Empire. I probably tend to keep out of the war that's going to surface quite quickly here on the subcontinent. Great Britain might be a good trade partner because of the proximity, but also to keep them just off our backs, as it were. Same with France. Again, that's not, it wouldn't be too much of a bad thing either to have France on our side. Now, the Crimean Khanate, not really, and friendly Italian states, again, nothing to worry about too much. Louisiana indifferent because of France's stance with us. New Spain would be that because New Spain is incredibly wealthy. Savoy, the same, and Venice, the same. So we're not, we're not hated by anyone. So if we could keep that, status quo until we are ready to just move out against somebody, that would be excellent. But whom would we move against? Now, the obvious choice is Sweden. And I think, if it was me personally with this campaign, my friends, I think that my future target would be Stockholm, would be Sweden. To unite Scandinavia under the Danish flag would be my ultimate goal, and that includes taking Finland as well. So bringing all of Scandinavia under our control here, Karelia, maybe even St. Petersburg, but excuse me, my friends, I'd imagine that would be something that the Russia would be looking at. So I wouldn't want to step on Russian toes, because if you take St. Petersburg, that's what you're doing. And again, you've got Riga here as well, which is under Swedish control, but really Stockholm for me would be the absolute prize, and it is defended. So it is already in a very well advanced capital. It's already got defences set up, but my goodness me, the wealth you'd get from this would be extraordinary, particularly early on. But again, biding your time would be absolutely crucial. Perhaps getting a trade alliance with the Swedes, just to make sure to keep them off your back, maybe just to grow that diplomatic stance with them, to sort of give them that comfort. They may think, well, actually, Denmark have got trade with us, we're not going to do anything against them. Personally, if it was me, I would immediately begin planning for Stockholm. You could, of course, move into Europe proper, as it were, into the mainland, but again, that is going to be a hornet's nest. It really is. You could, of course, take the jump into probably Prussia, maybe ally with Poland, so we're not really going to do anything against Poland. Maybe even Courland might be a target. Maybe even Britain, if you're feeling really, really brave there and moving into Britain, but that would be quite a challenge, Britain. For me personally, and I'm not saying this has to be, but me personally, it would be Stockholm would be my number one target. And also, of course, looking to get as much as we can out of these. We didn't quite look what the trade was here. So you can see further at 12, not the finest. Of course, ivory is just absolutely through the roof here, but furs would be not too bad. So again, probably get furs because you can trade furs. You'd be bringing in more than you would sort of for logging. You got the logging camp here in Rinsaker, plus 625, which is not too bad at all, is it? And the same here would be 500 there to that. The mines would bring in what? 1050, not too bad at all. And here as well, I'd probably get this mine up and running as well, this minefield here, and it's going to bring in what? 875, not too bad at all. So just going to bring in some income. The fleet we have here. Oh, he's not very good at all. Oh dear. Oh dear me. Yeah. That's not going to be a very good admiral at all. Johan Lindgren. We've got then a 6-rate keel and the Farse sloop. And of course we would be looking to expand anything and everything we've got here. The fishery here. Do we really need the local fishery here? I know it gives in that, but I think it would be far, far better to maybe convert that into either a trade port or into another naval facility in a shipyard and really start to build Denmark's naval power. The same could be for here as well, to be honest with you. If that was me, I'd probably bringing this in to a sort of decommissioning this fishery and moving it into a naval facility. And of course, you can move eastwards to Sweden, move southwards down into sort of the mainland Europe, which I said is going to be a real hornet's nest. You could even go westward here to Britain. Or you could, of course, expedition into the New World, and you would end, especially if you went from Iceland, you would end up here in Newfoundland, which is of course French, but you've got the Inuit nations here, which would be perhaps a stepping stone into the New World that would keep you on the fringes, below the radar, as it were, below the parapet. And of course, you've got Britain here, and you've got many of the major powers are already here. France is already here. Britain's, confederation is here. So of course, you've got 13 colonies already in position, which is a de facto sort of British control. You've got Spain already here. Britain is here as well. But of course, you've got the pirate islands, Trinidad and Tobago, the Leeward Islands. They, of course, would be a valuable asset indeed. And also keeping an eye on down here on Dutch Guyana and French Guyana, that would really be an important stepping stone here. But of course, the pirate islands would give you a key foothold in the Caribbean. Again, something to keep an eye on, my friends. Not really else. You could always go against the Pueblo nations, maybe take Texas. But for me, it would probably be I would probably be aiming for the pirate islands, Trinidad and Tobago and Leeward Islands. And also, if you remove the pirates, it does set you in good stead with the rest of the greater powers, as it were. But my friends, I thought actually we haven't looked at these, as you can see. Let's have a look at what you actually get with the drill school as you move up. So, Fusiliers, of course, company cavalry, grenadiers, grenadier guards, hussars. Oh, look at that! Archipelago. Light cavalry, I like that. I do like that. Almost a scout formation. That's excellent. Highlanders and Scottish Line Infantry. Now, if we move up to Military Academy, what will that give us? Buccaneers, Line Infantry Guards, Blunderbuss, Standard Fare. Ooh, Dragoons, Colonial Dragoons, Cuirassiers, which is absolutely the backbone of heavy cavalry. It really is. Archipelago, which looks pretty good there. Army Board, what will that give us? Lots of echelons here. Fusiliers, of course. Oh, Household Cavalry. What a wonder. Sharpshooters. And Army Staff College. Oh, Guards. Archipelago. Fusiliers. Get the wonder of all of these. Oh my goodness, we look at all these open up to you. Scottish Line Infantry. Grenadiers, of course. Republican Guard. So really does open up a huge plethora here. Of course, rocket troops improved as well. 8-inch batteries. The standard fare here. What about... Oh, look at that Marine, sir. That's a wonder. That should... I wonder what that'll give you here in terms of naval hospital. Anything? No. Heavy first rates, of course. Standard. But that, my friends, is a look at really where you're going to go with Sweden. Denmark, I beg your pardon. That really is... It is... and Denmark, I would really like to campaign. So I might even do a campaign for Denmark one day. That would be something I really would be interested in. Especially taking the sort of Scandinavian... perspective here. I think really would be a fascinating campaign, particularly where it would take you particularly I think primarily towards the east, which is something I would really like to do. But my friends, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, please let me know if you've played Denmark in the past. I would love to know if you have any advice, anything like that. Always, as always, in the comment section down below. Thank you for all of your wonderful support, my friends. I hope you've enjoyed this nation's guide here for Denmark. And as always, my friends, whatever you're doing, please be safe. But until next time, bye for now.